Wicked. You guys, the cutest eating strawberries.
Well, it's not breakfast, so
It's gonna go. None of this cutting it up all pretty, ready to put it on Instagram business.
it's off.
Let's eat it. Hi guys, how you doing?
Well, just as the universe wills it to be. How are you?
I'm really good. Been hanging out with my children all day. We just went and saw some circus, Mad Hatter's Funorama, I think it was called. It's like a Alice in Wonderland themed circus show, and it's really kind of they've got a bit of a queer twist on it, kind of a few adult jokes sprinkled in there, and yeah, a lot of kind of, like, for instance, the Red Queen is a drag queen. You know, like some of the characters are, you know, gender bending and things like this. So it was really fun. And then we all went and had a ride on the Ferris wheel. Me and my two babies. They were like, Ferris wheel, Ferris wheel, and I was like, you know, it's gonna be scary. They're like, I don't care, Ferris wheel, and, and so we got in, and then sure enough, I want to get out. But no, it was super fun. It was super lovely. So they've just gone to bed, and you know, it's really difficult to feel bad when you're hanging out with toddlers who came from the seed of part of me, you know. Cool, guys. What have you guys been up to lately? You've been up to some cool stuff this year, huh?
Lots.
Whoa, so much.
Yeah.
Let's start from the beginning. January.
Beginning?
The January beginning.
All right.
Oh,
well,
there's a beginning before that beginning.
Yeah, let's go before the beginning. Let's go.
I'm not sure what you're doing, but yeah.
Are you talking about the year ago, the 12-month ago beginning, or?
Well, I mean, practitioner training was a year ago.
Talk to us about
So the
that.
run up to practitioner training was a big story of its own, which was really us going through the spiral. I think we can definitely say that we were in quite a toxic relationship. We were projecting a lot. We're in a pretty tough space. And
are you talking with each other?
With each other, yeah, this relationship. And we knew that, I describe it as the golden thread. So there was this thing, this unbreakable thing that we just couldn't figure out. It was like there was something there that would last, like this fine, thin golden thread that's unbreakable. Like everything else would fall away, but there's that. And I guess that's what ultimately brought us here. But lots of ups and downs, and lots of integration, and lots of very, 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 very hectic stuff to travel through. And that ultimately took us to going, this work is huge. This work is huge. We've got to follow it.
So for those of us who don't know what prac training is that you're about to share what the journey to that? So yeah, tell us about that.
Yeah, so we decided prac training instead of putting it down a deposit for an apartment, and flew out to Australia. It was our first foreign trip together, aside from the UK and South Africa. I'm from the UK, and Nissa's from South Africa, where we are now. And it was big. I remember hugging you at the end and just being like, you feel like a different person, and you saying the same.
Yeah, so we had, like, when Yana talks about the golden thread, it's pretty much like that one thing that, like, when the shit hits the fan and it's like everything else is telling you that like you can't take anymore, that you're done, that this is it and it's over, and you have that, like, that fine fine thing. It's like it's minute. You can't even almost put an identity to it or point at it, but it just keeps you there holding on, and that's what's kept us together. Like, because it's almost like if you were talking about a entwined rope that's like layered and thick and things like that, and sometimes a relationship can look like that, like these people are holding on to each other with this well twined rope, and it's so tight and solid and strong. And I feel like relationships go through these transformations where that rope gets withered away from the obstacles you're pulling it through and you're putting it in between, whether it's people's whether it's energetic and spiritual growth from either side. Sometimes one person will grow in a certain direction which is slightly different to the other, and the rope gets withered away as we grow and as we transform. And next thing, you look at this tight rope that you had at the beginning, and there's like almost pretty much no rope there, and you're like, fuck it, I'm done with this relationship. And then you're about to, or you're walking away, and then like there's that thing holding you, and then when you realize it's that tiny, almost invisible thread, and it's the most powerful thing that's in between you guys. It's more powerful than any of the things that were entwined around it that you thought made up this connection that you guys shared. We were pretty much at that twine for the first real observable time in our relationship. And we were ready to throw in the towel, and so Spiral came along, emotional clearing came along in the form of Zephyria, and then she took Yana through, and Yana like was so moved and shifted by it that she felt that I needed to go through, and me being my typical self, I was like, I'm chill. Look, you went through what you needed to go through. That's why you were crazy. I'm good. but she paid for it, so I was like, okay, cool.
Shout outs to Zephyria Bell.
and then I ended up going through Spiral. Like, it's crazy because I thought like I had my shit under control. I mean,
Don't we all?
Yeah. So we went through Spirals of Fear, and then like it was around level 4 when I really started to see how much I was holding and how much I had going on. And then that's when my transformation started to actually in the flesh take place. The sun's coming up, yay.
Mm-hmm.
So after level 4, right, everything started to shift for me, and all the way until I got to the end of Spiral, and I still couldn't put to words what was going on, but I could definitely attest to like things had shifted. At the end of it, like we were going through the transformation still, because once you've gone through a process of transformation, the repacking after the unpacking is still part of your process and transformation. So we still weren't sure where we were at as a couple, and Yana was moved back to the UK and just find her feet again, and she was like, I think this relationship is something that we'll have to reassess after I've gotten back to my ground. But towards the end of it, she decided that she wanted to be a practitioner. And
so towards the end of her Spiral, of
our like stay together, because she had been in the country for about 6 months, and so around about 4 months she was like, I'm actually going to become a practitioner. But I just wanted to let you know anyway, I'm going. And for me, right, I'll be really honest,
kind of like you do you, I'm going anyway kind of thing.
Yeah. So I'm be honest, like for me, being a practitioner didn't call out to me so much. I was like, this is really cool. A lot of people really need this, but yeah, I'm done. I got what I needed.
So what were you doing? Like, what was your day to day looking like before that came into your field as an option?
Pardon?
What were you doing? So what were you doing with your time before that option?
I'm a full-time performing artist. My speciality is acting, and I trained in acting in university. All the way through university, I discovered contemporary dance. So I'm also a contemporary dancer, and I do live performances on stage. And my acting started from theater, transitioned into television and film. And so that's what I was doing. So in the midst of all of that, I was on I think about the number 1, number 2 telenovela drama in South Africa. So I was doing good on the professional front. So
you were like, practitioner, kind of.
Whatever. But so when Yana was going, the golden thread tugged at me again, and it was like I got to follow her, got to be with her. So I was like, okay, she's going to practitioner training. Let me just go to practitioner training. And all of the savings that I had pretty much were going to get me an investment into an apartment, to purchasing my first apartment. And when I took those savings and I looked at how much it was going to cost to fly to Australia, then pay for prac training, then pay for living or food, and then fly to the UK and then fly to South Africa, it was all of what I'd saved. So I guess what I was feeling in the golden thread, then those material things that I initially had in my mind were going to happen. And I took all of those savings and I put them into that mission, and I followed Yana and told Dane I was going to become a practitioner, and went to training and paid for that. And we set about our journey, got to Australia, and somewhat found each other at a transformed place already before we even started practitioner training. And we just shifted, and I became more, I guess both of us, we became more aware of our energetic selves at a whole different level, because we were already having like conversations beyond the physical stuff that were around us. Even before going through Spiral, we were already challenging notions of God and spirituality and energy and things like that. But
were you both brought up with like a religious kind of upbringing, or what was your kind
That's really interesting, because we actually come from opposite ends of the spectrum. So you were brought up very Christian, very religious, going to church, very, very, very Christian background. And I was brought up with the, science, atheist, evolution is something you accept. God.
Prove it.
That was where I'd come from, and I'd kind of already traveled sort of midway along the spectrum and sort of found my own notions of what God is to me. But then that was conversations between the two of us, and it was almost like we faced each other and we would see what was behind, in the history of the other one, and it would all feel more intense than it really was in the moment.
Yeah, Yana had come her halfway, I guess, from her with different people, because she was quite explorative with the kinds of people she engaged with. So by the time I met her, she was already challenging her own atheist background, and by the time she met me, I was already challenging my religious background, because I was like, yeah, but it doesn't connect. If God did this, and why is it that? And if he says this, and so by the time we were both at this questioning place. So like I say, Yana and I are like almost pretty much like polar opposites. She's from the top of the world, I'm from the bottom of the world. Like she's white, I'm black. She's short, I'm tall.
Not true. It's not true. It's not true.
And, but anyway. But we're really like quite polar opposites, and all of that, even the most obvious ways and the most not so obvious ways.
And just to add
she
as well,
cooking, I'd probably shy away from it.
Just to add as well, like that whole racial polar dynamic is something that sort of has a much deeper impact here. And for you, I think, in your mind as a South African.
Talk to us about like the concept of, interracial couple. I personally, being an interracial person, multiracial person, many kind of different bloods. It's a interesting kind of concept, and I find in the different kind of areas that you are, like for instance, I'm in Australia. It might be a thing, but it's quite multicultural city, Melbourne, where I spent most of my time. But you type into Instagram like interracial couple or something like this, or even into Google, and it's kind of a thing. It's like this big deal. You'll see pages that are focused on interracial couples and things like this. And if you go into some areas of the States, and even being a black person, or being Hispanic, or being not speaking, might be a white person, but you don't speak American English, then that's a big deal. Even some places around here in Australia, which are majoritively white people, it can be a big deal. But like being somewhere where you're from, in the UK, Yana, I'm pretty sure it's quite multicultural where you're from, and so South Africa, I don't know the racial makeup, where people are from mostly in South Africa. Is it mostly black people? Is it half and half? Is it a mix of cultures in there, or?
Definitely mostly black people, but around the communities that Jan and I are and mostly interact with, it's more predominantly, but a bit higher on the meter, where with more black people. But it's a mixed circles, but there's much larger areas that are just black people, and most of those areas are the impoverished areas and the lower in the economic scale. The townships and things like that. There's plenty of those, and there you find an influx of just black people. The areas where there is just white people, very, very, very small. And they are either the incredibly rich white people, or the middle class to about just above the lowest black people in amount or worth.
And is that something that your community or your family has accepted, you being with a white person? Talking to you, Naniso, and vice versa for you, Yana. Have your relationships been mixed with mixed people, and how has your family and community embraced your interracial relationship?
Well, for my side, my mom was raised, I guess, from 17 years old. My mom moved to the CBD, Johannesburg, and she started working for the family. But she and the rest of my family comes from rural South Africa, where there's cattle herding and people have like they're like almost mini farms, and they have livestock and stuff, and there's only black people there. There is no English. There's almost no Western influence upon it, except for clothing and stuff like that and whatever. But generally, it's just that black thing, and white people are almost seen as aliens.
People take photos of me all the time when I'm in Queenstown. Like,
you're like
one photo is
like District 9.
Like, to the point at which I was at his grandmother's funeral, and there were people like taking photos of me.
Cool.
That's the background I come from, and like when I broke the news to my mom that I'm going to be bringing home a white girl.
So that's the thing. Like, you had to actually break the news to her. It wasn't just like
it's not like my partner's coming. Like, I knew that she was going to absolutely freak out if I just said my partner's coming. She thought some black girl's coming. And then a white girl. Like she procrastinated about it for at least 2 days before Yana came. And yeah, so like and then when my mom found out, then the rest of the family like found out, and then it became a big talk across my family in different parts of the country and stuff, and until she rocked up. And when everybody eventually saw us together and met us, that's when it started to subside. But still, even to today, we've been together for 4 years now, but still to today, it's still a thing that and his white woman are coming.
I think it's worth mentioning. I think probably maybe people watching won't know that like apartheid was ended 20 years ago. 20 years ago, or just over 20 years ago in this country.
When did it end in like just in the 90s or?
In 1990 was when apartheid was somewhat ended. Mandela was freed from prison, but in 1994 was when Mandela became president, and that's when all discrimination became lawfully abolished.
But then when we understand like the ingraining of like generations and generations and generations of racial segregation, racial separation, in terms of like where you can sit and where you can walk and where you can be, and having to have a permit to be in a different racial area. And, like that was a norm for so many people that are still today,
it's a thing. Even
of course it's a thing.
Even in westernized CBD mainstream South Africa, which looks like your Melbourne and whatnot, like still to see a black man with a white woman is still something that you double take off.
And it's still like that.
Yeah.
So even for you, if you would have noticed a black woman with a white man, or the other way around, you too would take a double take at that.
I remember when I first started coming to South Africa, early days in our relationship, Yenis was turning around and being like, oh, look at that. And it was just an old interracial couple with their kids. And that for him was like, oh my, and I was like, what? I don't understand. Like, because I didn't realize as well that colored here, which is a whole race to itself, it's like that's a separate thing. So for me, a lot of my
colored is not black and not white. It's like
it's pretty much you.
Yeah.
But in South Africa, there is a people that are just mixed race people. Just repeat that again. Sorry. In South Africa, there's a group of people which are their own demographic that are just mixed race people, and they have a thing about being just with each other. And so you've got like areas in South Africa, predominantly Durban and Cape Town, where you'd find group of mixed race people that are just with each other. They even live together. There's large areas that are just mixed race people in Durban and in Cape Town, and
like
the
type of thing where they would only employ mixed race people, or they only employ colored people, and this kind of thing as well, or
from employment place, not so much, because in South Africa there's either pretty much black or white, and so everybody white has fallen into the black margin. So Indian people, even more recently Chinese people, fall under black, and mixed race people fall under black and stuff. So there's that. So in South Africa there's this big thing, a movement. It's been going on for I think the past 16 or so years. It's called BEE, Black Economic Empowerment. So they've been creating more and more regulations around companies and jobs where they have to have a certain demographic of black people, and also women and things like that. So it's also played a pro and a con, where it's a bad thing because sometimes they would have to hire a black person, whether if they quite hit the mark of being suitable for that job or not. But yeah, that's its own thing.
So it's all still very, this separatist, this segregation is still very ingrained subconsciously. And it's definitely played out in our relationship. And there's been times where, for me, it wasn't really a thing. Like, Yenna's always surprised that I have Black friends and mixed race friends and stuff. And for me, that's just, it just is.
It's normal, yeah.
Whereas coming here, I really started to learn a lot about how things are ingrained.
Is it,
and then when you...
Is it to a level of dangerous? Like, we have like haters trying to like, right, who are coming to burn your house down, or this kind of thing, like?
No, not really, but there are certain areas where I wouldn't let Yana just walk by herself. There are certain areas where I wouldn't walk with Yana, because it just attracts the wrong kind of attention, because there's that whole thing of white people have money and they are targets for car robberies, smash and grabs, like theft and violence and things like that. So
what area are you in now? Where you stay?
We're in Johannesburg.
We stay in Johannesburg,
cool.
But also in a certain district of Johannesburg.
And is that like this parts of town in Johannesburg which you wouldn't venture day or night?
Yeah. We can drive through it, but like not like walk by foot and stuff. And it's because
is there a large, what are the gun laws like? Are there lots of people have a gun and things like this, or?
There's gun laws, but no one really people have guns.
Say that again.
There are laws around gun handling and things, and you need to have a license and whatever, and not just anyone can purchase a gun like America for self-defense or whatever. But you'd still find a lot of people have illegal guns across South Africa. At one point, my brother had an illegal gun, and my mom made him take it to the police station and stuff.
Beat his ass.
So it's not very difficult to get guns either, especially illegal guns. They're all over the show. So it's not safe from you might find somebody who has a gun, but stabbings are also common and things like that when people want something from you.
I mean, spiral clients of ours said that in their area it was the third time that they'd seen a dead body, in their area.
And that's not even in the news.
It's quite normal.
Yeah.
Is that something that you have experienced, Yana, being like, have you felt like in danger at all in any of the areas you've been in, or have you felt threatened or scared?
I think one of the frustrations for me, I love walking, and I'm used to just walking, whether it's through London or through the countryside, or I love just being able to go out and walk and vent, And there were times when we would have had an argument, or we'd be in a certain like pressure cooker situation, and I would want to just walk, but I can't, because there's gates everywhere and there's security, and if I go outside, it's not safe. And then it got to the point where it's like, okay, well, I'll go for a drive then. And then I'm driving and I'm like, but I need to be checking for people who might be hijacking the car. Like, this isn't safe, So especially at night, just this feeling the restriction of it, feeling the restriction of security. Definitely.
Certain areas, though, where you can do such things, of which is the benefit of this area. It took me a while to find the place that we're living in now, because this place is pretty much the levels of crime and the levels of feeling unsafe and whatever is way, way less here.
Yeah, we're in a good area.
Is it the kind of place where you could say you've got a bunch of bags and you're about to jump on a bus to go to the airport? Is it the kind of place where you could put your bags on the side of the road, run across the road, grab some milk and food, and come back and your bags will still be there?
No.
Yeah. I know you laugh, but I do that all the time in Melbourne, and my bags are still there. That's kind of my gauge of like, okay, cool. What,
No, definitely not.
No, you wouldn't do that anywhere in South Africa. If you want to do that, then you talk to somebody and ask somebody to watch your stuff or whatever it is. Yeah, like there's. I know
is it the kind of place where you can bribe police and things like this, or government people?
Yeah,
or?
yeah. That's common. Like it's not to say or like against the law and stuff. Like it's commonly known in the political circles that like it's been in the news that our president is engaging with being bribed by a rich Indian family and whatnot, and so it's at those levels. Is I think our economic background, our social and racial background has had a high impact on where South Africa is right now, because it's almost now at like the strongest will survive, kill or be killed sort of phase, and people still gauging themselves. And we've just come from this rough patch, and everyone is almost trying to make up for what they felt like they couldn't have 20 years ago. And
there's also a lot of tension in terms of, you know, typically speaking, white people have this, you know, it's this Western mentality, isn't it, of look forward, right? So Western is and it's all about the people in front of us. Like the past is the past, let's just leave it behind, let's just forget about that 500 years where like you were all just like completely fucked over by it. It's like no, it's the future, you know. And then you have Black cultures that are all about ancestry, lineage, you know, your elders, knowing where you come from, roots. So they're naturally looking back. And they're like, no, wait, hold up. What the fuck? Like, you want us to just get over it? We can't get over it, you know? What's that about?
Like, if you think about it, just 20 years ago, we couldn't access certain levels of education. And so going forwards without addressing that means that you have, like, I think if you look at it right now, we live in about 2 to 3 generations of people which are still suffering that, and they are living in poverty because they couldn't be empowered in a certain way, they couldn't be educated in certain ways, and that's where the impoverished areas are so much getting their own like revenge. They're pulling their own Robin Hood stories and take from the white and give to the blacks and give to the poor areas. There's a lot of Robin Hood figures in those township areas that are like, yeah, we don't rob people that stay in the townships. We don't kill or steal from people. We only steal from. And so, funny enough, when Yana and I met, I was living in the township, so I felt pretty chilled walking with her in the township area that I was living in. It wasn't a thing, but coming from the outside, going in or being on the outskirts of it, that's where you felt unsafe. Funny enough, you felt more unsafe in the richer areas than when you're in the impoverished areas.
Interesting. And is that?
And then,
go on.
No, I was just going to say, like, I remember when it came to emotional clearing and training as practitioners, that was a big topic of conversation. You know, like South Africa needs this because of how much you uncovered about yourself and your behavior patterns and all of the things that you'd anchored around being Black and being from a Black family, and all of the racial narratives that were playing out between us were triggering so much. I mean, they still do to a certain degree.
Crazy
but
story. So yesterday I decided to be a rebel. My cousin is a taxify driver, which is like Uber's new competition in South Africa. So they've sort of got an Uber equivalent called Taxify in South Africa. So my cousin is just registered for that, and he has an owner that has given him a car to drive around and stuff like that. So yesterday he was tired and stuff, so I took his car and I took his phone and I turned it on, and I decided to be an Uber Taxify driver for the whole day yesterday. And I picked up clients, made some money and stuff. And throughout the whole trip, I was busy cleaning, which is something that we might talk about at some stage. But it's my sort of new tightened form of clearing. So anyway, so I was cleaning and shifting a whole lot of stuff energetically for myself as I was driving. And I'd often feel an anxiety. My energy would shift before something comes up for me to clean, before I need to clear something. And I felt one of the biggest tensions and anxieties before I made my another trip. And when I got to the trip with the request, it was this white family, two kids, a mom and a dad, spoke Afrikaans, which is the old oppressive government's language. They are the oppressive people, the Dutch, in South Africa. And so much stuff came up for me as I was taking them to their destination.
You speak Afrikaans also?
I can understand a little bit of it, but I don't speak it. We were taught it as a second language in school. And then because of the law changing and stuff like that, we got the option to change that to Zulu in like grade 10. But anyway, I found that the biggest things that I had to shift was around giving service to a white person without feeling like a slave, giving service to a white person and still having my pride and my esteem, and like I was cleaning so much around that, and like I found myself releasing a lot, as well as crying throughout the drive and stuff, and that was a big thing for me, and I was like, this stuff isn't only stuff that I was experiencing for myself or had experienced for myself. It's stuff that I was carrying energetically from my ancestral heritage and things like that, from my mom, from my grandparents.
And going in on that, what is it like for you with the acting? Are all your bosses and the production houses and the companies who employ you, are these white people, or is it all black productions, or what is it like in those situations? And what about as well in the dance arena as well? And for you, Yana, what is it like for you, like when it comes to colored employees or even people that you're serving with your service? Is that a thing, or are you guys trying to transcend that and create a new narrative? Let's start with you first, Anya Nisto, and then jump over to Yana.
Cool.
Maybe we should start with Yana.
Okay.
I think right now there's a lot of conversation that we're having and that I'm having with myself as well around acknowledging the collective narrative and then questioning how possible it is to eject yourself from that. Like, can you transcend that when the collective narrative continues to exist? Like, what does it take for the collective narrative to transcend itself? And so all of these questions have really been playing out for me. And I think for me, when it dropped in, when I really realized, oh, okay, like the whole white thing here is a thing, it triggered so my mama, she's German and my dad is English, but I grew up in a English town, and due to some strange laws, I'm officially German, not English.
So you've got a German passport?
I have a German passport, don't have a British passport, can't vote in Britain.
Although she's never lived in Germany.
So I was the weird kid at school. We went traveling a lot, lots and lots and lots of traveling, Bali particularly. First went when I was 7 months, went for my 15th time when I was 15. So like exposure to drastically different culture was like a very, very prominent part of my life, part of my upbringing. I'd come back home to my hometown. I was vegetarian. I didn't have a TV. I was a weird kid. I was told to draw if I was bored or read a book, or, like, I was the weird kid.
It's funny that that's weird. It's funny that that's weird.
Right? But I was the oddball. And I was also called Yana. Right? So people would say to me like, oh, Yana, where's that from? Or you're really weird. And they put it down to me being German. So then me being German became a thing. And then being called Nazi became a thing. So that was a continuous joke for years of my life at school. Hail Hitler, and being saluted in the corridor and stuff like that. Wow. And it was a joke that was just, it
was just what? Sorry, repeat that.
It was rinsed like all the time.
It got tired pretty quick. Did you become inoculated against it? Pretty sticks and stones might break my bones type of thing.
Exactly, but there was definitely an element of like, oh, but if I am German, then how much am I that? Like, how can I disassociate myself from that if I am? And coming back to South Africa really brought a lot of that up, because it's like, oh, German. Oh, but I'm also British. Oh, fuck, like, that doesn't help.
Double dose.
So it's
Yeah,
right. So
like
it's
both of her heritages like were my oppressors.
exactly. So when I realized that that was playing out on a micro level within our relationship at times, when I realized that actually the actions weren't just the actions, they had all of these connotations wrapped around them because of all of this racial stuff, it brought up a lot for me. It brought up a lot. And, you know, even just things like, you know, people being extra polite to me and realizing like, oh, that's because I'm white. And then not knowing how to hold that, not knowing how to carry that with compassion, what to do with that, wanting to level up. Exactly. So there's definitely a lot that's played out for me in relation to sort of being the oppressor and not wanting, really heavily not wanting to go, oh, well, that's got nothing to do with me. How do I take it and acknowledge it without feeling identified by it?
And that's a great question. How have you been approaching that? How have you been applying the answer to that question?
I think it's just constant questions, constant questioning, and constantly being aware of the singular versus the collective, and acknowledging that there is always both. So it's so common with any kind of isms where we go, oh, but I know a black guy who doesn't apply to that collective narrative, so that collective narrative therefore isn't true. Or, well, most people I know that are like this aren't like that, so that singular narrative should be dismissed. And I think being aware of both at the same time is really key. You know, being aware of like, okay, cool, I am tapping into that bigger thing of being a woman or being white or being whatever it is, but there is also my identity that I can determine in relation to that. You know, I think it's about awareness.
And what does it look like? For instance, someone is treating you over polite. Is that something you would address directly, or is it something you'd address with subtext or indirectly in
I think for me,
between the lines?
I think for me it starts with self. There was also another whole thing around, you know, black people here greet each other and white people don't really.
How do you mean, just like walk past, like
walk past and greet in person? You know, hello, how are you? You know, so it's like, oh, do I as a white person do that? If I don't do that, am I being rude? I've come to a point now where I've relaxed deep enough into myself, and I think it's with the amount of work that we've done, and the amount that Nina's and I are constantly calling each other in, constantly. It's like, yours, deal with it, clear it, clean it, collide it, like deal with it, address it. You know, that's for you. It's happening for you, to the point at which I can be angry at Nina's for something that he obviously did that made me angry and pushed my boundaries. But Nina's will turn around and laugh at me and go, that's yours. What are you doing to call that in? How is that serving you? You know, not in a disrespectful way, in just a very self-responsibility over your life kind of way.
Yeah, it's a very it's granting beingness. You're granting the person to be however they are and are being in the moment. So
exactly. So I think what it really looks like is me dropping into my truth in every moment and greeting someone if I feel like greeting them. And if it feels like it's forced and I'm going to be doing it because I feel the dogma around doing that because of then it doesn't align with me. So it's just about tuning into myself constantly and feeling in for what's right. And I think my intuition's popped open deep enough for me to feel content in my choices and to really choose my choices consciously.
Cool.
But it's an ongoing journey. It always is. I don't know. Over to you. How's it for you?
Oh, for me, right. Well, going on to the whole artistic side and how that looks is because South Africa is predominantly black. The market for entertainment creation and stuff like that is for the big consumer, which is the black market. So 20 years ago, all of the TV stations, everything was run by white South Africa, white government, because that's what they had the privilege of being educated in. And so right now, the biggest companies in the biggest production companies, in South Africa are white run, but they are slowly but surely those creeping in that are now starting to become more black driven, but by the young black market, which have just recently been educated in that and things like that. So they're all pretty much round about my age. And you'd find that the biggest TV stars, the biggest names and things like that, they're all black, but they're all being paid by the white producer, the white director, and like, and it's all like behind the scenes, they're still being driven and run by white. A
lot of the
people.
writers are white as well,
and that's why I asked as well, because when you were driving in the Taxify and had that stuff come up, I wondered how that plays out in your day-to-day job when that's happening. Is that stuff you've now cleared and you feel better about that, or different about?
Well, yesterday was my first and only day, but overall, I like the collisions and the cleaning that I was doing around the experiences that I was getting from that yesterday's drive. Seeped a lot right into my professional work of being a performer and actor and things like that. And I saw the commonalities where I was like, oh my God, the way that I am right now with this client is how I am at work. And then I started to see the relationships and started to address that as I was looking at it in myself. And it's that's been my own big shift moment and big realizations of how to then step in further into myself around it.
Awesome. And is that something that you received? Like, do you have, I guess I imagine you've got fans. I don't know if you get fan mail or do you get hate mail as well? Like, do you get people going, why are you with a white woman? Or, especially maybe females going, why the hell are you with a white woman? Or, do you have anyone mention, hey, I don't know if you should be seen in public with this white woman? People on the red carpet and things like this, or is that a thing? Or what's that kind of dynamic like?
Yeah. So in different areas, it gets addressed in a different way. Some areas, it's embraced. If we walk through the mall, they're like, "Oh wow, really? That's beautiful. He's with a woman, a white woman too." But I get a lot of, because I've got a professional Facebook page where people address Nyaniso the figure, Nyaniso the brand, Nyaniso the artist. And that's separate from my personal Facebook where I post about my junk and all my shit. And Yana's been helping me manage that with a lot of
which
those
one?
messages.
The professional one?
Professional.
Yeah.
So she manages that one with me, and she has to look through and deal with a lot of like, I'll have sex with you tonight, here's my numbers, and the whole why are you with a white woman, I'm so disappointed, like you're letting down your black people, what are you saying about your black sisters and things like that. And then I was like, Yana's going to see every single one of these. And then some people started to shift and started to address both of us with a more respect. And the longer, I guess, they had to see it, because
so you've said that publicly. You've addressed that publicly, like on the wall and things like this. Okay.
Yeah.
So some of them stopped speaking to me. Some of them started to shift, because I guess it's been 2 years, so they slowly started to adjust and started to see the beauty of it. And a lot of the things that I would post about was me and Yana together with my family in the rurals, where there is only just my Xhosa culture, and Yana's engaging with that, and Yana dressing up in that appropriate form of cultural
attire
and making traditional foods with my mom dressed in that attire, and they started to identify with her, I guess.
And is that something that you that is also celebrated? I know you said it's embraced, like it's almost, when you say the word embrace, I almost feel like it's tolerated. But when you say it's also also then frowned upon, but is it also some segments of the fan base and the community, are they celebrating it and going, this is amazing, this is great, and have the fans themselves and the community themselves trying to shift it from within? Is that...
Yeah, Yana has been embraced. She's now starting to become her own figure in her own right. There's been articles written about her.
Yana so in his bay.
Yeah, she's in the newspapers and magazines and stuff. Yeah, so
amazing.
that's been like the shift, and yeah, there will be one or two, but the voice is becoming smaller and smaller because of the other and more of a person.
I've definitely had women just outright going, "Oh, so you're the one taking our men," or like you're the kind of woman that's taking our men, like all of that. Yeah, exactly that. Like, I don't know what you want me to say right now, like, you know. And
so yes, I am.
Your man, like, no, but I always like this idea of taking. I was like, one time I didn't say it. It wasn't appropriate. I was at the visa office and it was the woman behind the desk. But when she said that, she's like, "Oh, you're the one that's taking our men." I was like, "Taking where?
Where am I going?
Like, what are you taking?" Like, Yanissa came to the UK for me. Like what?
And is that something that you sort of, I don't want to say, I don't know if this is the right word, but advocate, or is, you know, something that you promote, like equality and acceptance of different races and multiculturalism? Is that something that you talk about, you know, publicly within both your personal and professional
I wouldn't say it's a topic or an area that we focus on, but when it comes up, we do address it in that way. But it's not something that we're advocating for. I guess without thinking about it, it is. But yeah, because I go with Yana everywhere that I pretty much go. If it's a TV show, interview, whatever it is, then like Yana would come with me, and I've got some function and an event where there's going to be big TV producers and whatnot, and Yana would be my +1, my partner. And so I guess, yeah, it is something that we're somewhat advocating for, but it's not something that
kind of by proxy, or
yeah.
And talk to me about the things that you're advocating. What is really inspiring you at the moment?
I am truly greatly inspired by men and the unspoken pressures and challenges that men are going through, and a lot of the time men themselves are unaware that they are facing and going through, and is a result of how men are in society. The biggest thing right now is there's been this big hashtag in South Africa where a woman was murdered by her boyfriend, and I immediately went to, why did the guy do that, rather than the typical, which hasn't changed anything for I don't know how many years, response of, "Oh, he's so evil, how could he have done that, he deserves to go to jail, he deserves to get punished." I believe that everyone, not just men, but everyone, my focus is men, everyone has a reason and is coming from somewhere in every action, no matter how misplaced that action might be.
Is this the kind of concept of like even Hitler felt like he was doing the right thing type of deal?
Yeah, that kind of thing. So I believe, like, because when you look at a newborn baby, he's not totally a blank slate, but a slate. That baby is a blank slate and is a result of yes, what the soul is, but in association with what he encounters in his journey, and that then starts and mold his personality and who he then is and how he behaves, how he reacts to certain situations, how he feels in certain situations, how he feels in relation to other people. and everything a man becomes is a result of his journey. So everything that he has been taught, the things that he's been experienced, my big topic is a lack of affection in men's lives, is a result of how they then go about getting love, getting affection, start being finding their own identity, their worth, that the ways that they do that, it might be misplaced, but there is a person there that's deeply just seeking love, whether they are aware of it at a conscious level, or it's so deep down subconsciously they think all they want is rough sex or whatever it is. So that's what I'm advocating, is unpacking men and unpacking where they're coming from, and unpacking the real reasons why there's such a high demographic of rape going on in South Africa, especially of violence towards women and children. And these are all acts that are being led by men. I'm like, there's definitely a greater reason, a greater topic to unpack there than just thinking that we need to send every man to jail that rapes, because it doesn't really solve the reason why he did it. And the reason why he did it, and me going backwards into that, I feel is what's really going to heal the nation, heal men as a whole. So I'm fusing this kind of thinking with our holistic practice of spirit, energetic shifting and unpacking.
Start that again. So you're fusing it with what exactly?
I'm fusing that kind of thinking, that kind of approach with our holistic work, our holistic business of healing, clearing, cleaning, spiritual, energetic, emotional unpacking for men specifically.
So
our relationship.
We're talking 20 to 60-year-olds? Are we talking 10 to 25-year-olds?
Every single man that I may cross paths with. Right now, I'm actually trying to strategize or find a way to address my senior men, which is my brothers, my brother-in-law, and things like that, who are having trouble with alcohol abuse and cheating and give their true and open selves to their relationship. I'm neither for nor against monogamous relationships. I feel like people have and give whatever it is that is true to them in their relationships. But what I do advocate for is people being true to themselves and who they are engaging with in their relationships. So anyway, coming back to that, is like people feel like, men especially, feel like they need to be someone or be something to be worthy of having love, to be worthy of having a family. I need to put up this pretense of being this kind of man that only drinks in these kind of situations, that only has sex with their partner and whatever, but like we aren't really truly getting to the truth of who that person is, what is going on within them, why they feel like they need to do or another. And that will that kind of approach and those kind of things, I feel will not only have a much healthier relationship for these people with their partners, but definitely with themselves first and foremost. And yeah, so a big thing in South Africa is violence against women, alcohol abuse, violence against children, rape, and those kinds of things, and dishonest, if I can say, men, and men losing the best of themselves to situations where they felt that they needed to deceive themselves and their partners.
Self-deception.
I
Yeah.
think a lot of this has really come up. It's shown itself through our relationship. So unpacking our relationship allowed Nyanisa to really delve into this understanding of himself and his own behaviors, which then allowed him to understand other men's behaviors and empathize with those. And, you know, that really came through me coming into women's work, you know, coming closer to women's work, womb work, unpacking the pelvic bowl. That's something that I love so much. Like,
so it's
love.
Because both of us have somewhat gone into the spaces that we feel most affected by in our lives. I grew up around this notion that all men are dogs, they're just evil, they're cheating, they're liars, and also stuff like that. And when I started to see symbols of that in our relationship and how I was doing those things that I was a part of society when I was younger, and started to go, yeah, it's true, men that do this are these and that and that. And I was like, oh shit, I'm a cheating liar of love, and I'm just evil and stuff like that. And then when we went through emotional clearing and started to unpack what's going on with me, I was like, I'm not evil, I'm not this and that, I'm not this dog, I am worthy of love, I do deserve it, but why did I do that? And that began my journey. And then I started to realize, I did that because I've been this whole time of just trying to be to satisfy a need for affection, and the only place that I sought out affection that society had okayed for me to get affection is from a woman. But actually, men need more than just a woman's affection. They need affection from their fathers. They need affection from men. They need affection from their brothers. And then I was like, oh shit. So because I've only been given the okay to get affection from a woman, I've been holding a deep grudge and frustration around needing to get this brotherly, manly, masculine affection from a woman of what she wasn't giving to me. And then that equated to me getting frustrated in either a violent way, verbally abusive way, or just trying to find more women who are going to satisfy this affection. And they weren't, so I just needed to go look for more women. So obviously, because it's not in men. This masculine brotherly affection that I want is not in men. That's what society says. So it's in women. So where is the woman? So, okay, maybe this woman. Okay, maybe that woman. Okay, maybe that woman. Okay, maybe that woman. Okay, maybe that woman. Yeah, I got a girlfriend. That's cool. Maybe that woman. Maybe that woman. Maybe that one. And that's what I realize is a lot of men in the world are facing.
It's going through that, yeah.
And it's more than just the affection thing. It's like dealing with other pressures which have been put on, and they have only found or sought out their healing from pursuing sex, or trying to put it away with drinking more alcohol, or put it away with
what type of I guess like rites of passage exist in the culture where you are, like, for both of you, that goes for both you with women and men, in South Africa and also in your kind of circles as well, Yana?
I think for me there wasn't really anything that was.
Is it like your 18th birthday? Is it like your graduation, the dance at the school?
Yay, it's your birthday. I never went to university, so graduation wasn't a thing for me.
Is it like getting your car license, or what kind of?
Yeah, even then, like, all of that kind of came for me later. And I think because my path was somewhat unconventional anyway, there was this understanding or this feeling that there should be something more that I'm connected to. But I remember it was probably about a year and a half before things really like got hectic, that I started reading a lot about, well, it really began. I was about to get in the bath. I was on my period. the phone rang, went to get the phone, took the call quickly, went back to the bath, looked down, and there was red on my leg. And I was like, ooh. And then I paused. I literally paused. And I saw myself, and I was like, that's an integral part of being a woman. Why am I disgusted by an integral part of what makes me, a woman? And that sparked something in me. And so I started reading a lot of books about womb wisdom, menstrual cycles, and all of these things. And I was indulging and indulging and indulging. And a lot of these books, one in particular, said, put your hands over your womb, close your eyes, and drop in and just feel what it feels like. And I did that. And I couldn't feel anything.
Mm.
And I felt so, I felt like I wasn't connected to something which I had to be connected to. I felt like there was something wrong with me.
Mm.
And it wasn't from an external, Yana, there's something wrong with you. It was like, no, there's something I need to resolve inside of myself. And every day for about a year and a half, every day I would put my hands there and I would close my eyes. I was so determined. Every day I'd close my eyes and I'd feel nothing. I'd feel nothing. And I was continuing to read, and I was getting angry. I was like, why has no one connected me to this? Why has no one connected me to my power? Like, I started celebrating how powerful women were. But in that, the more powerful that thing was, the more I felt like I didn't have it. The more I got frustrated, the more I was like, but why have I been taught that my body, that my cycles, that my nature, that my power is disgusting? Why have I been denied my power? Like, why has that been denied to me? And I felt angry for a really long time, but I kept reading. And then through the spiral, things started popping open for me. And it was like all of that work. And suddenly, like, that was when I was having dreams. And I was like, yeah, so I had a dream about this particular woman. And he was like, yeah. And I'd like lose my shit. But then at the same time, I was like, fuck, like, it's like my intuition is justified. You know, and that for me was a whole journey that came out of not having been given a rite of passage.
You created your own almost.
Yeah, somewhat. And I think now that's somewhat without the term rite of passage, that's somewhat what I feel like I'm all about right now, is connecting women to that power. Like, I feel like I've got the emotional clearing. I've unpacked the pelvic bowl. I've unpacked so much of this stuff. It's like, okay, cool. Let's unlock this energy and that energy and that energy and that energy and that energy and like clear it all and pow.
And I imagine that so many of us, you know, even with the spiral work, there's so many of us who have a similar story or similar experiences that could benefit from the work. So I imagine with both of what you're doing with men, for you, Nyaniso, and also with you, Yana, doing the pelvic work and the womb work, that, yeah, there'd be a huge kind of demographic and I guess market of people who would really benefit from it. So what kind of people do you love working with and can benefit from the work, and what does it look like? What, you know, for people who are going through XYZ, can you describe us what XYZ is, and then also describe what ABC is, the steps of what it looks like doing work with you, and, you know, what we might take from it if we did that work.
Yeah, so we
if and when
we've been reshifting a lot lately. I have a pelvic bowl activation thing, which is a 3-session structure, just popping open the pelvic bowl, the energies, like really just clearing around the energies, activating the energies.
So can you quickly just describe what the pelvic bowl is for those of us who
so the pelvic bowl is like the bowl that is our energy power within our body. So we've got our ovarian energy, we've got our masculine, our feminine, we've got the space in between. So the first session is really about creating harmony between our masculine and feminine and the power, like the space where literally and metaphorically our eggs lie, like our creative potential. Then we come into the womb, and I address it as the womb space and the womb walls. The womb space is like the atmosphere of a room, and the womb walls is really to do with our cyclical nature and this hold and release mechanism that happens. So there's a lot of uncompleted releasing, you know, with the way that women are relating to their menstruation, with the way that women are not surrendering and giving to their bleed time. There's a lot that's unresolved as we clear the emotions around those spaces. And then finally the 4 quadrants of the vagina, and just really come into that. And like, I'm all about teaching women as much as possible and creating content.
So the 4 quadrants of the vagina are?
So it's the front, which is to do with stepping in, where our fears are, closely related to the bladder, so all the bladder emotions. You've got the back, which is to do with support. You've got the right, which is to do with your masculine, and your left, which is to do with your feminine. And we can, even through like self-massage, if you find tension spots within your vagina, you can understand, you know, depending on where the tension is, what it's related to, you know, and what it is that you really need to address, what that emotional blockage is. So yeah, just like really going into all of it and helping women to understand the different parts of this system within us and how to call on the different parts specifically, rather than just womb work as a whole, allowing it to be much more targeted.
And what type of kind of, what it would be a typical, you know, is it somebody who comes and they have, I don't know, they, like you said, the numbness, you know, that not much feeling there, or is it people who, you know, necessarily don't feel that much pleasure, or and can unlock some of that? Is it people who don't feel so supported and can start supporting? Is it self-love and they have what does it look like?
For me, it's been, you know, women who have endometriosis or severe pain going on in their body, severe period pain, cramping, releasing that. It's been women who are already on their path of like connecting to the divine feminine and just really like blasting out what still needs to be blasted out, and really taking them like a notch deeper into their intuition and their connection to self. There's been so many different levels of reconnecting to your power, and I feel like every woman is at a different space in their journey. It's really about tuning into where she's at when it comes to her wisdom, when it comes to her connection, when it comes to her power, and really like working with her from there to take her as far as possible within those 3 sessions, you know. And then I find that women who have popped open then take to spiral. So we also facilitate the spiral. We facilitate the spiral for couples. So we take couples through at the same time and guide them as a couple after having gone through the spiral together. Do you
take the girl and Nessa takes the guy?
Yeah, we do it that way. But when they work with us both. So we're both available, you know, if the guy wants a woman's opinion or just a different person to speak to, or, you know, vice versa, we've got that going on as well. So working with couples.
What does it, how does I guess transgender or non kind of binary type come into the picture?
I feel like that would really depend on who we're speaking to. I feel like that's such a huge spectrum of it's a huge section of the spectrum, isn't it? It's the same spectrum. It's just a huge section of the spectrum that we haven't met yet. But if people were wanting to work with us, then they would get in touch and we would speak to them and we would listen to their needs and we would see where they're at. But ultimately it's about relationships and it's about relating. And what we're really about is coming into our own power so that we can come into power together. You know, the more we resolve, the more we bounce off each other, the more we utilize this relationship and the mirror that this relationship provides to each of us, the more we can just be like, yeah, sort it out, deal with it. And then we expand and we grow and we grow and we grow and we grow. And because we're constantly calling each other in, you know, we encourage that within our clients. We encourage this self-responsibility, but utilizing the relationship to really step in deeper.
Share with us, Nini. So once you've shared with us what you're about to share, just how it looks on the man side of things and the stuff you're working with.
Yeah. So from an early stage, it occurred to me that men are energetically driven from the chest, which we later realized is heart space, and women are energetically driven from the womb space, which is why most of male dances are chest dances, and they're all up here. Especially if you look at African dance styles, those were like really just be clear as day for you. And for women, you'll see it all in the pelvis and it's sensual and things like that. And you'd find that from taking that notion and you apply it of going, how you do anything is how you do everything, is how, that's exactly how it is in pretty much the full spectrum of the human life, the human being, the human form. And Yana then went into that direction of the pelvic bone, and really fully understanding that is when she's like, oh shit, my energy is driven from my womb space. So that's all of that hip movement. And then she started to unpack that, and that's when it started to become clear for me, the kind of direction and the kind of men that I needed to take are men that are ready to face their heart, ready to face what they're carrying from that heart energetic space. And so I have more focused on the men that come to us, especially couple spiral, because those are the men that are ready to face their heart and what's going on in themselves, is when they step in from that love space. A lot of men are resistant to step into any kind of energetic and emotional space or work, or when it's not when they don't really have to, because a lot of men who are single are functioning from that the material conscious headspace, and that helps them get by in life, and they're really quite happy not having to deal with anything else. And a lot of the time the clients that are attracted to us come through the form of being in a couple.
Let me just jump in there with that situation. It kind of reminds me with where you said you were at when you go like, oh, I'm good. You go do the spiral. What was the mindset shift? What was the thing that made you go, okay, I am actually going to step into that and do the work?
She did. It's like if I wasn't in a relationship, if there wasn't that golden thread, if there wasn't that thing connecting me to that thing that I can't let go of, I can't deny, I can't turn my back on, I wouldn't have done that. I would have never ever done anything that means I must go face my emotional, energetic, for what? You know, I'm fine. I'm an actor. I'm making money. I'm chilled. Like, what do I need to do? And it was only when it's only when men are ready to step into their hearts, and that's when they start to love. That's when they find a partner. They find a suitor, and that's when that space starts to open up involuntarily, and that's when they start to find themselves ready to face that.
So do you feel that there's
it's a very rare man that you'll find who is single and ready to step into that world? There's been one or two, maybe three or so that I've engaged with on from that perspective and taken through as clients. But generally the men that have come to us that we are working with right now are men that have come with their partners.
The partners dragging them by yeah. So it's kind of like the concept of there's not that many people who are willingly single, you know, like who are happy, you know, they're like, I quite love myself, I don't looking for love, and not fooling themselves. So you know, and what does it look like on your end as well, Yanissa? So working with the men to deal with those heart issues, like what type of particular men or issues that the men are facing, and do they come with, and also what are the results from doing the work? What do you find is a common kind of thing?
Biggest section for me is masculine to masculine relationships. So for one of my clients, the common topic and the common thing that we'd be talking about is his relationship to his brother. My most current client, his biggest hurdle right now that we're working through is his relationship to his father and his grandfather. and that has unpacked a whole load of baggage that he was carrying around that, and stagnancies and restrictions that he's been energetically and emotionally holding for himself, just primarily from those areas, and masculine to their own masculine relationships, relating to their own masculine, and like some men have run away from their masculine, and they are in relationships with their women partners, but feminine route, and they retreat from their masculine, and that has played a huge toll in their relationship, and that's our current clients as well that we've got right now. And I find it beautiful to observe. For them, it's quite challenging, obviously, and all of the obstacles that come with that. But I find it so beautiful to go, man, do you see that the real thing that you just need to let blossom over here is your relationship to your masculine, to your relationship to your masculine, through your father, through your grandfather, to your brother, and I found it as the beautiful part of this is that as you're guiding and helping people through, you also working through your own sift, the what you call it, sieve, I guess. So as I'm letting these things blossom and come to the surface and bloom for these men that I'm taking through, I see that working through my own filter, I see how it also allows even further blossoming and blooming for myself. And yeah, so it's been a beautiful journey in that way, and allowing my own journey to inform and guide how these men get brought forward into their own.
Amazing. And do you, I know you kind of answered this question, but what are your thoughts on kind of single men or women, Yana, who are looking for that love and looking to who are kind of struggling in the area of really calling that love in and that affection, whether it's from their own masculine or matrilineal, patrilineal line, or the feminine side? What are your thoughts, and what do you have to kind of share in that regard?
I mean, so for us, one of the things we work a lot with is the mirror, and the mirror can be my partner, or the mirror can be the non-existing partner that we are wanting to call in, right? The fact that partner isn't there. If we're talking about a single person who's seeking someone, or even a single person who's not, why do you not want the partner there? Like, the partner or the story around the partner is a real reference that we can utilize, that we can use. So one of my clients, for example, she came to me and she's like, I want to call love into my life, but I know I need to release a lot of guilt and a lot of shame and stuff. And so we've been working together, and really what that's been about is cultivating self-love, cultivating a deeper connection to those aspects of self. The first session with the pelvic bowl is where I really look at the relationship between the masculine and feminine energies, and then clear the space between this internal union to happen between the masculine and feminine energies. And it's so common for women, even who have done a lot of work on their masculine or a lot of work on their feminine, to be like, well, they just don't get along. They don't want the same thing. And I'm like, what kind of partnership have you got going on inside of your body? What kind of partnership are you calling in? Like, if you don't have that partnership internally, if you don't, if your masculine isn't serving your feminine or coming into power for your feminine, or your really powerful, wonderful feminine isn't serving your masculine, then there's something that still needs to be addressed.
So to jump in there is I feel like generally women are the leaders in life, but especially in this topic over here is because it is the women that are going to call men into themselves. And so in order for that to be the case, the woman needs to call herself into herself. So a woman that and the beautiful thing is that there's so many women that are ready to step into themselves, because women naturally do function from that energetic spiritual space. So that's why Yana has her beautiful influx of women that are ready to step into themselves in that way through palpable activations and things, which then turn into them coming on a journey with us through spiral and stuff. So women that get ready to call themselves into that place, once they do, they will naturally develop the eye to identify that man, that partner, that suitable suitor for her within a man. And like from a surface level, like that man wouldn't really be projecting that. But because of her engaging and turning on and tuning into that intuition within herself, she will be able to identify it within that man. And through that, we'll be able to call that man into that space. And for that to happen, she will her own. And when that happens, that's when he'll start to engage in being ready to face himself.
So is it kind of,
I step in.
well, is man interchangeable for woman or any gender as well, if whatever partner they want to?
Yeah, of course.
And as well, does that mean that single men are disqualified from doing the work with you, or?
No, like I'm pretty sure you also relate to me in this, but you can't. There's this I think it's called a proverb or whatever. That you can't. You can take a horse to the water, but you can't make it drink. So I could show men what infinite possibilities are out there for them to source into and to really step into for themselves. But if they're not willing or to engage with it, then they won't do it. Like working with a man that doesn't want to do something won't help his process.
But what Zulu's asking is, if a man comes along and he does want to work with you.
Yeah, definitely. Like when a man is ready to step in, I'm here.
Yeah,
because initially in our work, what we're working with is we're working with individuals within a couple. At the end of the day, it's still an individual that I'm working with. It's not that I'm going, I'll only work with you if you come with your partner. If
that was my question. Yeah, I'm just imagining, I'm putting myself in the position of single guys, like, oh, this sounds interesting, or this sounds curious, or oh, I could do it. Or, you know,
if that's you.
When a man is ready to step into that space, whether what that thread is for him, whether what that golden thread is for him, and it calls and it tugs at him, and he's ready to step into that space, then by all means, I'm open arms.
Amazing. Just kind of want to switch gears and switch kind of scenes and jump over a little bit. Both of you are lovers of dance and love to dance, and have recently produced a production called One. Is that correct? I completed that, and in that we can talk a little bit about dance, a bit about your, the things that most inspire you, and how you've set your own life up to pursue those, and giving yourself permission to do so. And I'm really keen to get into the mindset of people who do kind of live the lives that they want to live, rather than kind of, doing the 9 to 5, or, just getting stuck in the rat race, or feeling like they can't get ahead because of X, Y, Z. That is something I'm curious to know from you guys, how that process has been for you in creating the dance thing, and what you love most about dance, and also, how you guys have gone about creating the lives that you want to live. Like life on your own terms. You both reached the level of success, so like really kind of keen to get into the mindset of that.
I think number one is deciding that you're going to do it before you've got the backing. Like, that's number one. So many projects that I've done, the majority of the projects, if not all of the projects that have really come out and become something, have, like, I decided I was going to do it no matter what. And then the funding showed up, and then the opportunities showed up, and then the places and the people showed up. And I've always been, Wealth Dynamics, we're both creators. Like, But I'm definitely like one of those, just want to do it. Like I want to draw, I want to write, I want to dance, I want to sing, but I want to dance. Like, but I want to do this, but I want to do that, but I want, and I'm all over the place. And I think that going back to that oddball self that was told to go and draw when I was bored, like that now comes in useful, because I'm always, there's paper everywhere with my writing and my lists and my scribbles and my poems and my drawings and my doodles and my, it's like, that's how my mind functions. So there's already this actioning that happens,
So the sustainable path is commitment. When you decide that you're going to do it, and you follow through with it, no matter how small the first few steps are, just go through with it. Like for you, for example, taking what you said is doing qigong every day. Like they're like small portions of your day dedicated to doing that one thing, but over time it builds up and creates an influx and a wealth of wisdom, information, growth, knowledge, and expansion. And that's the same thing. Some days will be harder than others, but you just need to do that small thing dedicated to that one aspect of your life, that aspect of your life that you dedicated to, that you decided that you're going to do. And it like, when I started my journey, it was just after university. Like I said, I was living in a township in a small one bedroom, and the days were challenging to dedicate wholeheartedly to this thing that I said I wanted to do. But when I imagine myself, I'm like, I can't imagine myself doing anything else. So I stayed true to the path, no matter the obstacle of the day. And every day there will be one obstacle or another. And it's your own perception of how you're going to receive that obstacle. You're going to receive that obstacle with an open heart of, actually, what are you presenting to me today? What do you want me to know today? How do you want me to expand today? And you can. So these are
the types of self-talk that's happening in your head. You're asking yourself these questions of, how do I want to respond? What do I want to do with this obstacle that's presenting itself? What other type of internal dialogue is going on for you? When the hard days are present, are apparent.
First of all, there is no hard. There's only easy. That's immortal thinking. There's mortal thinking, which is just looking at the physical and what is logical to the eye, and there is immortal thinking when you're allowing yourself to access higher, infinite possibilities for yourself, and it's just an obstacle. And obstacles can be big or small. And that obstacle is always, for me, is starting to always get received with ease and going, cool, because it is bigger. What am I to gain from it? Oh, that means what I'm going to access through this big obstacle is going to be as big as it is. And so like,
what's around the corner? This big obstacle must be a massive surprise around the corner.
Exactly. So like, I mean, you won't get a box of a huge thing in a you won't get a huge present in a small box. So whatever the present is, it will be shown to me in how it comes. And for me, like, I will start going into it with infinite. What do you want me to do? What do you want me to know? What do you want me to access? How do you want me to expand through you? And how are we going to do it today? Like yesterday, I had a shoot, and I was running the same patterns. The client kept throwing more and more at me around how she wanted me to perform a certain segment of the line that I was doing, and she's like, okay, cool, can you look at the I was working on green screen, so she's like, can you look at the teaspoon, okay, and then when you look at the teaspoon, also point at that and also say it in this kind of way. And then I was like, ooh, more fun. So the more obstacles, the more fun, because it gets more challenging, gets more tricky. And that's the kind of space I started to step into lately, through the expansion and the growth that I've been taking on. Because the way we approach something from an energetics, mental, conscious, spiritual space starts to inform how limits are in our life, and when you start to shift that energetic, spiritual, emotional and conscious knowing space, you can actually pop open the lid, and there is no limit, and it's limitless. And so yeah, man, that's the space I've been stepping into.
Also, bringing it back to one, there was definitely this feeling of like, for me, there was this feeling of like, oh my God, this is big, this is big, this is big. I don't know if I'm ready. That was the thing that kept coming, and I came to the conclusion that I'll never be ready until I'm in it. You know, I'll never be ready until I'm there. Like, that's how life works. You never get to a point where you're like, right, I'm ready. And then you like, no, you just walk, you go in. And so there's this feeling of, you know, initially we applied for the funding, and it was going to be one solo performance with Nyeniso dancing and Nyeniso just dancing. One solo performance, half an hour. It ended up being 4 headlining acts with 6 extra dancers, with Nyeniso acting as well, with a whole team at the university painting our stage for us, runners running around, making everything happen.
When we stepped into it, we thought it was going to be like an intimate project. And then they kept calling us in, and it ended up being we were the headlining act of an entire festival. And then we hosted like large scale auditions over 3 days. We saw around about 50
people or so,
and we cast about 12, which then became a cast of 6 people.
To add, we had professional dancers who had taught me classes walking into the audition.
Amazing.
You know?
So I'm there, this is my first big choreography. And I was like, am I ready? What's going on? And just deciding, no, you're ready. Like, that's why it's here.
The truth of it is, like, there is no such thing as ready, because every step that you take molds you into your expanded place, into your expanded version of yourself. So you can't be ready for what's going to take you to a greater place. It creates you to get to take you to the next level. The only thing that you can be is willing and open to go into that growth and expansion.
And there's something to be said for preparation. You know, if we're prepared, if we've done the training, if we've practiced, if we've put in the hours, if we've put ourselves in a position where we we've experienced whatever it is that's coming our way, then we have a sense of, okay, cool. Even if I haven't done this particular thing before, I've been in similar kind of experiences. I've been uncomfortable before. I've been in a place where I haven't ever experienced before, and I'm alive still. I didn't die. So it's like it's proving to yourself that you can actually do. You are going to survive regardless of, even if I'm not ready.
Yeah,
definitely. Yeah. Definitely.
Like, every single moment that we're currently in is all we have to expand. Like, what I'm going to use this very moment to do is taking me into the next step,
which is an accumulation of everything that you have prepared for this moment. Prepare for the moment, so that when the moment arises, you're there.
So like, I mean, I don't know if you're a Dragon Ball Z fan, but
I'm pretty sure you do know. I'm pretty sure you do know.
I oh no. If you take Dragon Ball Z into our sort of analogy, you go like you watch them training for. I love how they do Dragon
100
Ball.
episodes.
For like thousands of episodes, I'm like next episode. And eventually, when the fight comes, it's bigger than what they trained for. They expand and reach new levels in the fight, and that's pretty much the kind of analogy that you start to align with yourself and your journey. And it's like right? I prepare to expand. You can't be bigger than your obstacle that's coming. You can't be bigger than your next step. It's not possible. If for example, life was planning to take you through a place where you can bench press 100 kilograms, and you try to be smarter than that step, and you build yourself up to bench press 100 kilograms, it will mold, because just how I guess life and energy works is when you get to that place and you're like, yeah, I already know how to bench 100 kilograms, you find yourself you have to bench 165 and you're like, what, and it's not about the next step, it's about the now. And that's all that I've just really, really come to step into and to realize is the most of now is what you can make of it. And
practically, what does that look like practically? Like, so if that's all good to have that theory and those mindset, now how can people start applying that if people still believe that I'm not ready, or I believe I'm going to be stuck in this situation, I'll never be able to create that kind of vision in my mind, or I don't even have a vision in my mind, it's not kind of clear. What are the applications of these concepts?
That's a beautiful question, because that's why I got her. Yana is like I said, she's my polar opposite, because for me, I get quite driven by this sort of functionality, and she gets driven by this functionality.
When you say this and this, can you just describe that in words, just for our listeners, because not everyone has the video.
When I say this, I mean working in energetic infiniteness, and in spirituality, and opening up the crown and enlightened space, and working from I guess from my religious background, faith, or just like a higher knowing. And so I when Yana met me, that's how I was functioning. She'd be like, yeah, what are you gonna do? What's your next job gonna be? And I'm like, it'll show
like
itself.
What's the plan?
I never really had a plan, so it was always like, for me, I was working just through here, and like it will be what it needs to be. And sure enough, like a week or so, a day later, I'd get some huge call. I'm like, yeah, we're gonna pay you 30,000, and I'm like, yeah, you see. And then I just stepped into it, and I realized actually that there needs to be a balance between both. Being, when I say this, and the downside is the rooted side, the practicality, and
so it's like a top down and a bottom up kind of.
Yeah, and then the ideal approach is when you get a throughway, when you get a full access to both top down, up down, full spectrum of from the middle up and the middle down, and working fully from your enlightened spiritual energetic space all the way through to your physical, because that's why we got it. It's not there for nothing. We've got it so that we use it. We use our rooted selves, our functional, actual physical energy as well. So Yana was always working from that space, and that's how she'd accumulated and built herself up to the level of success she had, was just being thorough, creating a plan, creating a strategy, creating a 10-year goal, a 10-year plan, and knowing what it's going to be. If she broke it down to the years, broke it down to the months, broke it down to the weeks, broke it down to the days, and what's going to be happening within the hours of that day. And then like that is actually like a small step that she's taken toward the 10-year goal. And for me, like, it was weird to see that before, but now she is learning to she thought my energetic spiritual like manifesting ways of that I was weird, but now she's starting to learn my way of starting to function from that space, and I'm starting to learn her way of functioning from physical, actual, rooted, practical space.
I think
that's been the blessings we've had for each other.
I think there's two parts to it, isn't there? There's the preparing, and then there's the action. Right, so all of these lists and all of this and all of the to-do lists and all of the plans and the goals, it's the rehearsal. You know, like, we have this rule, don't we, with like stage or any kind of performance. You prep, you rehearse, and when you get on stage, you drop it all. Like, you allow for that preparation to come through in the moment, but ultimately what happens on stage is what happens on stage. What happens in the performance is what happens in the performance.
So what does that rehearsal, that prep look like? And that's your speciality, and that's where we go into when it comes to the practical steps and breaking down. So going to that higher space and envisioning what that goal, that dream is, and then bring it right back down and go, what do I need to know? What do I need to be? What do I need to have accumulated to do, have that? And Yana's approach is, okay, cool, what's the smallest thing that I can do to work towards that? And would break it down within that day. I used to sort of do it before I met Yana without thinking about it, going, yeah, man, I want to have a great body. So I'm like, okay, I'll feel like working out today. And I've worked out big time, bang it out today, and done. Maybe tomorrow I'll do the same, maybe not, whatever. But Yana, for her, it's about those small steps, those small actions that you dedicate towards that dream, that goal. And that's the beautiful thing that I started to learn, is that every day nowadays, we actually got what's that thing called, Yana?
An accountability sheet.
An accountability sheet with days of the month, days of the month, which are put out there into little blocks, and each day we'd be able to write down, first at the beginning of the day, we'd decide what's the most valuable, what's the highest, what's the most important thing that we need to get done today towards that goal. And maybe we'd have just 3 things that we need to have done. Read a script, write out a blog, do a post, and that's it. And anything that we do, anything that we do on top of that is just addition. And we'd make sure that we get those 3 things ticked off, and also account for the other extra things that we got done and things like that. Every day is the goal, is to keep doing that and keep doing it. And by the end of it, we would have accumulated 30 things within that month, or actually 30 times 3, I don't know,
anyway.
90 things, and that
a whole lot of things
that we've gotten done. And that's the beautiful thing.
Well, it's like life is made up of years and months and days, and as we accumulate the days, and I guess if you bring it back, the days are made up of hours and minutes and seconds and moments, essentially. So coming back to sort of mastering your day in order to master your life, or mastering the moment. If you can get to the moment, then you can master your day, and that's
exactly
that I abide by 100%. So I can totally relate to that. And it is really nice to hear, to have both of those perspectives, because being creators, that, you can be up here a lot, and not everyone's going to relate to actually the nitty gritty, the
there's definitely that question. There's definitely that question. It kind of links back. I remember when I was starting to read a lot about the divine feminine, and this is also cryptic and poetic. And I was like, connect how? How? What do I do? what do I? No, I get
Just
that the
spell it
divine
out.
feminine,
Spell it out for me.
everything, and it just felt like women were just doing this to me through their books, like just dancing at me, like, I'm like, but what do I do? You know, so that practical aspect of coming into the moment, I really feel is that thing of prepping and then trusting that the prep has done its thing. You know, trusting that your prep is aligned, and then trusting that you are always aligned with that vision, with that plan, with that goal. Just keeping it aligned, alignment.
And going forward, what is the vision? Talking about that, you know, that 10-year goal. What is the vision? What do you guys see yourself creating over the next little while? Like, you know, are we going to see Morgan Freeman type Nyanissa old man narrating some nature documentaries on IMAX? And for you, Yana, like, what's the plan? The longer, you know, or if you don't want to talk that far ahead, but maybe what's coming up in the future that you'd like to create.
Yeah, man, love is transparent, and that's one of our new approaches of functioning through love.
Can you repeat that?
I say love is transparent, and that's one of the spaces that we're functioning through love, and love is source is love, and that's why it's one of our most innate, deepest needs and desires, and that's why it's a beautiful thing to answer any kinds of questions. So transparently speaking, we've managed to fuse our goals because that golden thread won't let us envision ourselves without each other. So we have a vision of creating a hub for creativity and holistic healing and emotional clearing, and fusing those things together. Yana has her goal of having, if I can say, enlightened but emotionally aware and present dance and a dance company, but she'll speak more about it for herself.
That's such a downplay.
I said you will speak about it. So anyway,
talk us through it, Yana.
Right. So right now, I function practitioner. Like, I'm the practitioner. You're my client. I want to shift that dynamic so that I become a dance company. The practitioner is the dance company, and the client is the audience. So what I'm all about is creating this hybrid form of performance, like this holistic creative performance that really allows for the audience to go through tangible healing, the kind of tangible healing that. So utilizing
the kind
performance.
Of what? Sorry, just repeat that.
The kind of tangible effect that emotional clearing provides.
Yeah.
So you walk out and things have shifted in a predictable way. You know, like we function a root clear on love through a dance performance. You know, like for the audience. That's what I'm about. So it's this.
So it would be like a series of you come to X amount of performances, and you walk out, and you might go home with a homework sheet or something like this. Or
yeah, exactly.
And I want to do the same thing with acting. I've been sitting, and I haven't quite formulated it. How the actor is going to fuse emotional awareness, emotional unpacking, emotional cleaning within himself and for the craft. And I guess right now, as Yana said, it is actually when an actor performer has that kind of mastery around himself and his energetic being, he will be able, through his work, through his storytelling, to be able to do a clear or clears for the receiving audience. And it would be beautiful one day when we can do it even through television,
on
not
the screen.
Just live. You know? And do the same thing as an artist, as an actor, and obviously because I'm a dancer as well, they'll probably be in Yana's company. And to do that, like, not only is it going to take the actor and make him allow him to access a higher level of transparent truth telling in stories and performances, but it's also going to allow him to facilitate that for his audience or her audience, and that we want to do. And we want to I keep envisioning this beautiful stone farm with animals everywhere, and like we're gonna have everything organic and organic foods. I feel like a deep calling to bringing people to be able to sustain themselves and to create for themselves and feed themselves, not only from an energetic spiritual point of view, but from the actual speciality, practical, physical side of things. And that's feed yourself with your own food, create your own food. That way you'll be able to heal yourself, not from just from an energetic place, but from a physical place as well.
Yeah.
And that's what we want to do. And
I think the steps going there really involve, I mean, like, what's between us and that bigger vision? Because that bigger vision involves a whole dance company of people who are emotional clearing practitioners and dancers. You know, this looks like the journey there looks like retreats, sessions, working with clients, calling people and bringing people into their power, like walking the path and taking people with us, taking people as far as we can go, which involves taking ourselves as far as we can go. So spiral,
who are you trying to call in? Who specifically are you trying to call in? Are you like, who, if you were to imagine that bigger picture, that kind of ideal, starting with the end in mind, who are the key players, the key kind of people that you need to call?
Creative holistics, the holistic creatives, creative holistics, holistic
but
creatives.
Everyone is that.
Not, I mean, yes, but the people who, I mean, like if we look at the Vela Tent team, we're going to be holding space at a festival
the Vela what?
in a month. The Vela Tent. So our company is Vela Souls. We have the Vela Tent, which is a space that's all sort of for spontaneous collaboration. And this year we have a team of 6 people, and they're all
takes place in
holistic.
Tribe of Doris, in the UK. And that looks like it's going to be something we're going to start developing a consistency in creating yearly. But we did it for the first time last year at this holiday retreat festival sort of place called Tribe of Doris in the UK.
Tribe of Doris is amazing.
We're doing it again this year.
Love it, love it, love it. Anyway, so the Vela Tent team is like all of our team. They're holistic. They're very in tune with energetic practices. They're healers themselves, and they are all also performing, creative singers, dancers, actors, performers. You know, so even the majority of the women are already tapped into goddess work. You know, they run their own organization, the Goddess League. You know, it's like women empowered, men empowered, self-aligned. That whole idea of really merging performance and creativity for holistic purposes.
I was going to say, like-minded people is the kind of people that we're going to be journeying with. And placing it like that, for me, is a beautiful thing. Also, when I say like-minded people, I mean, I can imagine us collaborating and finding ways of working together and growing together with people such as yourself, and a lot of the spiral practitioner group. And when we say like-minded people, because we're like-minded with people that are not just energetic or emotional clearing practitioners. We're like-minded with people that are artists as well. I'm like-minded with dancers. I'm like-minded with people that love to create films, and those people are like-minded with other people. So slowly but surely we'll bring in like-minded people, and they will relate to us from one aspect, but then we'll also allow them to access and relate to us in this aspect of our lives as well. And that I can already see it will be its own ripple effect, and will bring in a greater community, and we will not only be leaders in this movement, in this journey, but we'll also be children that benefit and follow it as a movement on its own, because we're not only going to be the givers of this source or gift of understanding or energy and perspective, but we're going to grow from being around other like-minded people, because those people will bring their own gifts to the journey, and we will all benefit from it. We'll benefit from you, you'll benefit from us, they'll benefit from, and it will just be its own beautiful ripple effect.
100%. And finally, let's I'm feeling to wrap up a little bit soon, but something that I would like to know is, what do you feel is your main transmission, or the main message, or the main value that you want to bring to the world, and to the people, to the tribe, to others, and what do you think that is, and what would you like to sort of leave us with at this moment in time? Obviously, this might be a flux kind of answer that might change with who you are and how you are and where you are. But for right now, what do you feel is the biggest kind of value that you'd love to bring across?
I would love to share with everyone and anyone that gets to see this, that everything is within you. You are source. You are the center. You are the.
Say that again, that bit after, you are the center.
You are source, and you are the center. You are the center of your universe, and it starts from you. So the greatest questions that you might have going on, the answers will definitely start from within you, and will peel off and direct you to a vast, infinite amount of answers. And your growth spans from that same place, spans from that same source. When you're thinking to yourself, what do I need to do with my life or whatever, the answer is already within you, and you just need to allow yourself to access that through stillness and listening, and asking where, asking how, asking what do you want me to know, and asking yourself what is the direction, and that is going to serve you greatly. I feel a lot of us feel like the answers of the things that we've got going on in our lives are outside of us, or within the next person, or within a book, or within whatever. But the answers are within you, and the answer will lead you to the book, or will lead you to that person that will spark that light.
So to add, what we're all about is connecting people to themselves. If you work with us, know that we're connecting you to yourself deeper. That is the mission. The mission is for everyone to come into wholeness and completion within themselves, or to strive for completion within themselves. I mean, we're already complete, aren't we? But it's a whole philosophy that we really hold close to us, is like, it starts with self. So when you work with me, I'm bringing you closer to yourself. It's not about the answers I have for you. It's about the emotional clearing I have for you, the thoughts that I have for you, and the way that those things will transmit, and the way that you receive them. It's kind of, it comes back to this women's work as well. It's like there's this thing inside of me that I need to connect to, and through going through emotional clearing, I connected to that within me that was always speaking to me all along. It's always speaking to you. We have methods, we have tools that allow us to come into closer alignment, to be able to hear those things better, to really receive those things in a more tangible way. And that is exciting. Super exciting.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Flo.
An absolute pleasure to connect and share these moments with you, share this experience, and plenty of golden, delicious molasses yumminess has been dripped, has been salt bayed on this. Thank you so much. And just tell us how we can find you. What's the best place to find you and get in contact?
.com is our website.
I'll repeat that, sorry.
velasouls.com. Vela means to appear. Souls is our truth, our ultimate truth. We are a calling for souls to appear.
Vela spelled
Vela, VELA, Souls, SOULS. You can find us on Insta. You can find us on Facebook. You can find us on Twitter, but we're not that active. And you can find Yeniso's stuff, NZZDZEDZE.
Start again with that. That was confusing how you spelled that.
DZE, repeats again, DZE.
So yeah, you'd find Nyaniso Dzedze on Facebook, Twitter,
and via Vela Souls.
Via Vela Souls. I've also got my own website, but that's most of my stuff is primarily around my creative side. If you when you want to really get to connect with us and our work, look up Vela Souls.
Beautiful, amazing. Thank you, guys. Have a beautiful day. I know it's the start of your day on that side of the world, and I'm about to go get some work done before I go to bed. So
enjoy.
Thank you.
Lots of love.
And until next time, you guys know what to do is rock on.